understand what we're trying to do here. So our teacher told us that we're trying to reform consciousness from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. We're trying to reform it, almost like rehabilitation. It's almost, you can almost say like it's a disease. Like material conditioning is a disease. Why do I say disease? Because disease brings us suffering. So that's why this material conditioning of life is like a disease. It's like when you have an addiction to intoxication. Sometimes when we're addicted to intoxication, not like, we all have some sort of addiction. So when we're obsessed with that addiction, then it brings us suffering. And we need rehabilitation, and that's why there are rehabilitation centers. And the practice of Bhakti Yoga is to help us rehabilitate our consciousness from a consciousness of selfishness, of envy, of anger, hatred, lust, to a consciousness of selfless service, of love. So we transform our consciousness, and that purifies our heart. And then things become clear. Then we can really see who we are. We can really unlock the treasure that's in our hearts that we can't unlock usually because we can't see it. It is covered. Our teachers tell us it's like a mirror with a bunch of dust on it. There's so much mud, so much dust on a mirror, you can't see yourself. Just like that, our hearts have to be cleansed. And the cleansing process is what we're going to be talking about today. And that will help us really know how to be a bhakti yogi and how to take up this process so that we can experience the true treasure of love. How does that sound? Krishna! Yes, Krishna! Amazing. So, first, I have a question for you. Where are you going?
To bring the water.
Oh. So first, I have a question for you. So, what are the things in your lives that you have thought this will bring me happiness, but in the end it just brought you suffering? Think about it. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. What are the things in your lives that first you thought this will bring me happiness, but eventually it just brought you suffering? I'll give you 10 seconds, and then please somebody reply. Otherwise this will be very awkward. Go ahead, think. Thank you so much.
Partnership. I mean, material partnership between two people.
Okay, can you just give a little bit more of that?
I've been in an experience in which I thought having that dream-like partnership would bring me happiness. And I realized it just pleased my ego, and you eventually start to disassociate. You realize it's just toxic. It's not really happiness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Freddie.
Took less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, he's smart. So anybody else would like to share? So Freddie just told us about how sometimes we seek happiness in relationships. We think a relationship will make us happy, and sometimes it just brings us suffering. And Freddie, why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to the core of the relationship. I mean, how do you love your partner? And I mean, I see a way in which it can work out. You can be happy and it's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the core of what's keeping you together is these material values.
Yes.
When you realize how limited the material world is,
yes,
that's where it breaks.
Very nice. Anybody else?
Relationships again, like love, and then the person dies. They leave this world. It's only temporary.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's another good point. Sometimes you have family members, people that you love, and then they leave the body because it's temporary. The body's temporary, so we suffer.
So our teachers, they teach us, just like, thank you guys for sharing, just like Kara and Freddie just said, we learned that material conditioning of life essentially brings you suffering. Even though there is temporary happiness, it's mostly misery. And that's just fact. And they compare it to drowning in an ocean. Wave after wave, waves are coming and smashing you down. You can't breathe. But in between that smashing, you get one breath. That is compared to the happiness of this world. Just that one breath before another wave comes and smashes you down. That's material conditioning of life. Now the cool thing is... Sorry?
It's like being addicted.
Yes. Thank you, Maya. So, sorry. I lost my train.
The cool thing.
Yes. So the cool thing is, all we need to change is that we don't have to do a big change where we live somewhere else. Let's just go to India. All you need to change is your consciousness. You need to reform it. So we'll talk about that.
So are there any other examples? Maybe there's some other points where people have noticed that they tried to run after something and then it didn't bring them happiness.
For me, it's expectations.
Yeah.
It's like having expectations of people and then getting disappointed and realizing you shouldn't have expectations.
Exactly. And why do we have expectations? I've seen it in my own life. I expect that person should give me something or should act a certain way that makes me feel good. And when we realize that when we put ourselves in the center, we start expecting things from others and everything should revolve around us. And that's when we have that disappointment. But when we stop expecting, and maybe we start giving and serving, and we're like, it's not like, what can I do for my brother today? Instead of, he should act a certain way because he's my younger brother.
Give me water.
Yeah. Instead of like that. Yeah, that's an expectation.
Thank you. So the next step is, what do we do to reform the consciousness? So every day we need to practice something, Practice spiritual consciousness to get away from material consciousness. So we have a whole bunch of things that you can do to practice spiritual consciousness. And to make it easy for you guys, we have it in A, B, C, D, E, F format because everybody knows the ABCs, right? So, first thing, association. I cannot stress how important this is. And association, does everybody understand that word, by the way?
Yeah.
Association means who you hang out with.
What you associate with,
Yes.
what is your company, what you keep around yourself, what you spend time with.
And it goes beyond people. You know that saying, who you hang out with is who you are?
We have it in Arabic.
Yes?
We have it in Arabic. No, don't know who your friend is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the Arabic one? That's the one?
It's in English. قل لي من تعاشر. Should I say it?
Yeah.
قل لي من تعاشر أقول لك من أنت. Like, tell me who you're hanging out with, so I tell you who you are.
Yes.
In a way. Yeah.
Birds of, there's a similar one in English, birds of the same feather flock
Birds of
together.
feather flock together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's very true. But beyond that, what you associate with on your mobile phone, what you associate with on the internet, what you associate, with your thoughts. What do you associate with? What are you always contemplating? What are you thinking about? Oh, money. Coca-Cola. I need some Coca-Cola. What are you always thinking about? What are you watching on YouTube? UFC fights. Then that's what's going to be in your consciousness. The other day, I'm studying university online. So I had a course on history. So I was studying about the Mughal Empire for 2 days straight. All I could talk about was the Mughals. And Kara experienced this. Karuna experienced this. All I was saying was, Yogi, how are you doing? Did you know what happened in the Mughals? Akbar did this, Akbar did that. And then Prem asked Ananda, what's going on with Yogi? Why is he talking about Mughals? And bro said,
What you associate with, that you become.
And it was really true, even now. And I'm a practicing Bhakti Yogi for 21 years now. I'm also 21 years old. That's my parents. They taught us from a young age how to be Bhakti Yogi. So we're practicing that for a long time. And even after 21 years, when I associate with the literatures about Mughal empires, That's all that's in my head. So what you associate with, that you become. So association is so key. So, next, B. Anybody have any ideas about B? No. But almost. It is.
Believe. Chant.
Believe. Wow, these are all so good. I shouldn't have asked this question.
B.
Association.
So A is for association, and B is for...
Where do we get all our answers?
From belief.
Yeah.
But where do we get our knowledge?
Which is based on a book.
Yeah.
Books are very important because books give you knowledge. It is mentioned by our teachers that the knowledge of the Vedas is compared to your mother. It's like a mother. So you might have heard in your philosophy classes, your students, or you might have just heard in general that we are all children of God. Have you heard that? Yes. So, when you want to know your father, what's the best way to ask?
Your mother.
Yes, your mother is the fastest way to ask. Another way is you go to every man that you can meet and say, DNA test please, I need to know if I'm your son. So that's compared to the scientific approach to learning. So the science is constantly changing. This I've learned practically. Because in school, my teachers told me, we're not going to study this textbook because it's old now. We're studying from a new edition. And I said, what's the difference? And my teachers told me, this one is right. I'm like, what about the people that learned from that textbook? They said, yeah, they're wrong. They don't know it. Because science is changing. So this is another way of learning. We're not saying it's wrong. We're just saying it takes a long time. If I were to try and get the DNA from every man in the world, I don't know how long it would take for me to understand who my father is. But the simplest way is ask your mother. That's why books. We ask the books all our questions. The books have all the answers. And a book that we read as Bhakti Yogis is Bhagavad Gita. That's just one. We have a lot. So you won't get bored ever. The next thing in practice is C. Anybody know? Yes!
That's what we're always
My brother is C and ABC, so chanting.
I was so excited by that. So my bro will explain you what chanting is.
As you guys have experienced over the last few days, chanting, it opens up your heart. And it was a very interesting question yesterday. One of the ladies that came to the Kirtan program we had, she asked us, can Bhakti Yoga help us open up our third eye? And Yogi looked at that lady and he said, in Bhakti Yoga, it's all about the heart. When you open up the heart, all your other chakras and everything you want to open will open up. So that's how powerful the chanting is.
So today actually we'll do something really special. We'll be teaching you practically what we do, and we'll give you a chance to hands-on do what we do. So we'll be chanting japa on beats together in meditation. And that'll be a really cool experience for you guys. So I would just like to ask my brother again to just brief us on the benefits of chanting.
Well, there's both, of course, there's spiritual benefits. We're basically reconnecting with the divine energy, with Krishna. But materially speaking, I've experienced in my own life. I went to university. I used to wake up a little bit earlier. I would chant my japa, my rounds, and my beads. I would chant this mantra on my beads, and I kid you not, it would somehow allow me to be more focused, more calm, more peaceful. In agitating and provoking situations, I would react differently after I chanted on my rounds this mantra. So it has a lot of, practical benefits too. And yeah, if someone's into superpowers, then the mantra is powerful. It's very powerful.
Oh yes.
Is it because it focuses your mind?
Yeah, also because it connects the real self with the divine energy. So that's why you're at a higher frequency. There's an entire science section of this mantra. Our master, our teacher, we met him when Yogi was 9 and I was 11. And we approached our teacher, our spiritual teacher, And we said, can you please guide us? And he just looked at us and he smiled. And he accepted us in his, in his shelter. And he was actually traveling around sharing the Bhagavad Gita, but in a scientific perspective. So he would talk with like very, very intelligent scientists and PhDs, because he was also a PhD. He was a scientist. And he would talk about the mantra on a whole scientific level, how the molecules of the brain even change while you chant this mantra. So there's a whole science behind it that we can also go into. But yeah, it makes your mind more clearer. You benefit from chanting this mantra. It's a yoga. Yeah.
Even if you're not fully focused.
Yes. Even if you're not fully focused, if the mantra is there, even in the background, if you hear it, like you have like CDs with Kirtan playing, it has an effect on you. Yeah.
Is it the vibration?
The vibration, because it's called transcendental vibration. So it's not from this material plane. It's from a different. They say that this mantra came down from the spiritual world. So it's not an ordinary mantra. Nobody made it up. It comes from the spiritual realm.
Because we are mostly water, so the vibration of the water, it balances the body and the mind.
Excellent point. There was actually a scientific study, and they had different kinds of music playing with water. They had like a water bottle, and the scientists decided to see if the molecules of water changed with certain kinds of music, and guess what?
Yeah.
The water was changing. If the music was peaceful and sweet, the water was calm and steady. The minute they put like rock and roll side heavy, like kind of like the entire molecules would shake and like they would kind of like be disruptive. Whereas with calm and then they put some kind of mantra meditation, and literally the molecules all combined together and they were kind of strong. And so it was, it's a scientific study. So you're 100% correct. Our bodies do have water, and so the mantra does affect us on a physical level. I think it affects us on a physical, mental, and spiritual level. All three levels, the mantra affects you. So there's many benefits of the mantra. Yeah.
I have a question from yesterday. Does it burn karma? Like you mentioned, karma from past lives.
It does.
Burns.
Well, once Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you surrender unto me, then I'll take care of it. And he essentially, he basically takes all your karma. So suppose you have done this many sins. He takes it all and puts it like to a drop of a mustard seed. And that's how he takes all our sins and he just gives us this much reaction because he loves us. So once we surrender unto him, he basically, like, there's so many stories where there was a man in a forest and he was a woodcutter. And then his leg got cut off. But he was a spiritual man. And so that man went home without a leg and he just bandaged it up and he continued his service. And then there was another man who was traversing that same forest and he found a gold coin. But he was not a spiritual man. So then a saint saw that and he asked God, he asked Krishna, why? Why did you do this? Why did you cut off the leg? Why did you let this happen? How come the man who is devoted to you, his leg got amputated? And the man who doesn't care about you, who doesn't think of you, who doesn't love you, who is greedy, who's a merchant, he found a gold coin? What is this? And then God told him, Krishna told him, that actually that man who had his leg amputated, he was supposed to die fully. He was supposed to die, be obliterated. But I took all that sin and just like gave him a fraction of it, because I care about him. And that man who found the coin in the forest, he was supposed to be a king that day. He could have become a king. And if he was saintly, then he could have been a king. Because he was greedy, because he was exploitative, because he hurt other living entities, he only got a coin. So again, perspective. Again, we see the benefits of being a devotee of Krishna. Yeah. I don't know how I came to that.
So nice.
We were taking that Krishna basically, when we surrender to him,
Yes, sorry.
Krishna takes everything.
Thank you.
So yeah, because we were talking about karma. So
Yeah.
Krishna, essentially, when you surrender to Him and you take on this path of connecting yourself again with Him, then whatever bad, whatever negativity in your life, He takes it all and He'll put it in a small fraction, just so you get over with it fast, and you can get closer to Him. Yeah.
And would you guys actually like to know what the chanting is, what the holy name is? It's almost like a secret, like we're chanting all these mantras, but what is it really? Would you like to know the secret?
Yeah.
Krishna.
Oh, you don't sound convinced. It's really a secret. Golokera prema dhana hari nama sankirtana. In Krishna's realm, Goloka, this is the song of love from that realm. That's what it is. And another secret, it's Krishna himself.
The song?
This is Krishna himself. When you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna is present on your tongue because He is the holy name. There is no difference between Krishna and His holy name. Are you able to digest that? Really, there is no difference. This is Krishna himself. That's why when you were asking my brother, oh, so it like helps you focus? Well, like how? Is it a transcendental sound vibration? You're associating with Krishna himself. You're hanging out with Krishna, with God. Instead of hanging out with friends who are maybe into the wrong stuff, the wrong association, you're hanging out with Krishna.
So Krishna is all of us?
Sorry?
So Krishna is all of us?
No.
He's
He's with us. Because the name is Krishna himself. He's non-different from his name. So when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna is there. Because you're chanting his name. He's non-different from his name. It's not that we're Krishna. We're parts and parcels of Krishna.
It's like, for example, like you see her, she's looking over there. The minute I say, Karuna, she turns around right away and looks at me. So we're calling out to God. But God's actually there. He's actually present when we call out to Him. Yeah.
Because his powers are inconceivable. He can do anything he likes. And they say that in this age, because there is so much material conditioning, the amount of saintly people are less and less and less. We're in an age where most people are exploitative, most people are greedy or lusty, or they're not. Like, look at this room. In Lebanon, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's like 12, 13 people who are interested in knowing about like spiritual life. Let's say. It's just an example. Maybe it's not true, but the ratio of people that don't care and the people that care is vast. There's a big ratio.
I think you had a question?
How do we know? Is Rama Krishna too?
Yes.
Different names. Krishna has different names. Just like at home, maybe you have a different name. Maybe your brother or your parents call you by a sweet name. Yeah, you have like a pet name or a middle name. So Krishna has many names, and one of his names is Rama. Yeah. And each name has a meaning. Like Krishna means all attractive. If you see a picture of Krishna, he's beautiful. I have one on my phone. You just take a look. It's beautiful.
And Rama means the reservoir of all pleasure. Yes.
So that's the C, the chanting.
Yes.
Association, books, and chanting.
D. Should we do D? Anybody know what D is?
Demonstrable service.
Yes, no.
Dancing. Yes! Really! Later on we'll tell you a story. But really, it's about chanting and dancing. I mean, what do you do at a party? A party is like the epitome of social pleasure, right? Everybody that wants to go to a party is trying to have fun. What's the best thing to do at a party? Dance. So actually, in spiritual life, we dance together and we dance with Krishna. Because as we reveal to you, Krishna is his name. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna and we're dancing with Krishna. Krishna is there, he's present. So dancing, association books, chanting, dancing. E, anybody knows E?
Eating maybe?
Yes! So wow! Eating, but eating what?
Prashada.
Wow.
What is prashada?
Anand?
It's food offered to the Lord.
Excellent. Yeah.
Wow, perfect. So we offer our food to the Lord. Does anybody know why?
So she can become here.
Yes, become purified. Why, Karuna?
Yeah, this is pure. To purify our consciousness. Excellent. Yeah.
Because we don't want to get into that too much. But sometimes the person who prepares the food, their consciousness also goes inside. So like we eat bread, or if we eat bread, the people that create the bread, their consciousness goes inside the bread too. So to avoid getting all this consciousness and that disrupts ours, what we do is we offer it and we purify it by our food. We offer it with love and devotion. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita.
There's something specific you said?
Practical. Well, basically,
There are special.
So you should not eat it. If you prepare it, you should not eat it.
before you eat, you should first offer it to God, and then there's many ways you can offer. You can even have a small picture of Krishna or God, however you see God, and you can just put it in front of him and say, "Thank you so much for giving me this meal," and then after you let him have it, you can have it like that.
We actually do it every morning, or every time before we eat. Like we're right now with Tulsi and we're with Premdan, and every day before we eat, they offer to Krishna, or we offer our food before we eat it. The food that you will eat today, Tulsi offered it with love.
We do that also.
You do that?
We do that at home.
Yes. So everybody knows.
Yeah.
You say
We do it.
Maybe
Yeah,
the-
we say, we're supposed to say in Arabic.
But like we don't have a picture or...
No, but you
It's
close
like a
your
prayer.
eyes, it's like,
Yeah.
kind of.
It's the same.
Exactly.
The gratitude towards
Yes,
God.
yeah,
Saying
yeah.
thank you for this meal, exactly.
Yes,
and then it's purified. That food stuff is purified. And then when you eat it, it's not only good for your body, like nutrition, but
Yeah.
also for your consciousness. Because everything is about, whatever we do in our spiritual life, our practice is to purify our consciousness, to keep it clean, focused, pure, and always remembering God. So whatever we do in our daily activities, we try and include God. Even eating.
Yes.
How can we include God? We say thank you to Him. This is from Him. He provided us the grains, through the rain, through the clouds. It's all through God. So we say thank you, and then we accept it, so that we can continue thinking about Him, chanting about Him, learning about Him. Yeah.
I'd like to add something. The example often comes to mind is when, for example, our mother cooks food for us. So then we always say that the food that our mother cooks is more delicious because it's made with love. So that it's the love of a mother for a child it's through the food. So when we offer it to God, then we also receive that love through the food because it's given to God.
Also, there is another point why we should offer, because actually we acknowledge that God is the source and provider of the food that is on our table.
Yeah.
It's acknowledgement that He is the provider and the source of everything. That's why we are grateful. We don't think that it's food that we bought. We went to work and we made money and we bought food and we made. Actually, if not for God, maybe we wouldn't have a job, or we wouldn't get paid and make the food because we did it.
Actually, my brother reminded me of something. So I was talking, and as usual, I got carried away. And then he told me, remember, we're trying to be practical. So we're trying to show you practically what we do every day. So every day, what we do is we actually chant japa. So we chant we associate with Krishna. So we chant so that we're focused.
So japa is basically meditation on our beats. That's japa. What we do with the instruments and all together, that is called kirtan. That is together with everyone. Japa is more personal. It's more spending quality time. just you and Krishna with your beats. And you're kind of just, it's like meditation. You know how people just close their eyes and then go internal? So it's like a more silent form of meditation.
And we pray.
Yeah, it's prayer.
Yeah, we pray. And we'll do that, right? We'll do that today with them. And then also, before we eat food, like everyone was saying, we offer it, and then we eat it. And what's our association? We hang out with each other. Every day we talk about Krishna. We tell each other stories of Krishna, tell each other things that we heard in classes. We listen to classes. So we go online on YouTube and we use social media to our advantage. On YouTube there's so many different classes by different, what do you say, like saints? Yeah, different saints, different teachers of spiritual life, and we listen. So we listen to their classes, and that's how we learn, that's how we keep our consciousness in tune with spiritual consciousness. So we do those things practically. So we did EBC. Oh, we dance. Yes, we do Kirtan. So we dance in Kirtan. Every day.
I have a question. It's a practical one, actually. The idea of association is something we've talked about before. But let's say we're born into a certain social class where we have a certain family and they're beautiful and lovely and whatnot, but maybe they're not directly aiming for purification of their consciousness. At least not so deliberately. Let's put it that way. So, how do you go about changing your associations without being extreme? Because I have seen cases of people, a friend who just, left anyone and everyone she knew to pursue her spiritual path. But obviously, I don't think that that's what you're saying. But there is a fine line between choosing. I think it's like balance, because at the same time, if we're born into a certain way of life, we can't also just go cold turkey on everything. So, I don't know, how do you explain, how would you advise us on something like that?
Well, me personally?
Yeah.
Well, association goes beyond people, like we were saying. So, we're not saying don't talk to anybody.
No, of course not.
Actually what you do is you just share. You just share what you're learning. So if you're with your family and everybody's there and they ask you how you're doing or whatever, you can keep the consciousness on the table about Bhakti Yoga. You can tell them about Bhakti. You can tell them what you're learning. You can tell them about what your practice is. But mostly it's about what your personal practice is. So if you're chanting your rounds, if you're chanting Hare Krishna on your beads and you're reading the books, so that's your good association. Then when you go out for 1-2 hours or how many ever hours and you're having fun with your family, that's cool. And then just as long as your private life and your private practice is going on, then you're strong. Just like us, we used to go to school with normal kids. We used to be with them for 8 hours. But we were fine because we used to get up early. We used to chant rounds of japa on our beads. We used to chant a certain number of rounds. We used to read the books. We would talk to each other, me and my brother, talk to our parents about Krishna. So just as long as your home environment or where you like to practice your yoga, your bhakti yoga, as long as that is consistent, every day you're doing that practice consistently, you won't be affected. Every day, just consistency. If you miss a week of bhakti yoga practice, then there's problems.
You will notice that their influence will start to creep on yours also. You can notice that in consciousness there. So as long as you keep yours steady, then of course be with them, spend time with family, with friends.
We still have friends that are not practicing bhakti yoga. They're miserable. Honestly, all of my friends are suffering. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, it's 10 a.m. And then I'm like, what happened to you? I'm hungover. Why do you do this to yourself? I don't know. Well, what are you doing Friday? I'm going to go party. But you're going to be hungover Saturday morning. Yeah. yeah, I know. I'm like, why? I'm like, do Bhakti Yoga? He's like, yeah. So yeah, we have friends. Just do your practice.
That's an important point you made, that when we're practicing this spiritual path, especially in our early stages, it's important to be consistent. Just like when you're into fitness or yoga, you have a daily practice. You must do 20 minutes a day. You must do half an hour a day. Similarly with spiritual, when you're reforming your consciousness to make God the center, you have to practice daily. So maybe half an hour in the morning, maybe before you sleep, read 10 minutes read the Gita for 10 minutes, or read about Krishna for 10 minutes before you go to bed. So every day, if you have a small practice that you do, it'll start becoming like your pillar, your rock. And like in times of, if you had the worst day ever, like for example me, I may have like the worst day ever, then I go, I put on my headphones, I listen to a beautiful Kirtan, and I feel like, wow, okay, life makes sense.
Ooh, yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like we have oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. When you're having, when you have like, not just a bad day, like series of bad days, and just hear Kirtan, it's like you're in another world, like you're taken out of it. And when you're thinking about the real world, you go back to being miserable.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a safe haven, spiritual practice. It becomes like, for example, for me and my brother, like we used to go to school, come back. I used to look forward to going home so that we could like practice our instruments.
We could do
Kirtan with each other. Yeah, so spiritual life becomes like an inseparable part of your identity. It becomes like, I need this. It's my source of happiness. And it becomes like your treasure. And you keep it safe. And you're like, I need to do this practice every day. Because you're associating with God Himself. And you just feel happy and you're satisfied. So yeah, these are a few steps that you can take in your life to practically apply Bhakti Yoga.
And can I tell them something? It's funny. Sometimes my bro is a little extra cranky, and then I ask him. So he's like, I don't know why I'm like this today. And I'm like, he's like grumbly, and I'm like, bro, did you chant your rounds today? And he's like, did you? And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's why you're cranky. But honestly, even my grandpa gets so cranky. And then I ask my grandpa, did you chant your rounds today? And he's like, you're right, I didn't. And then he starts chanting his rounds. And after that, he's so happy. He's like, do you want candy? And I'm like, yes! I'm serious though. And then he feeds me cake and all kinds of stuff. So really, that spiritual practice is so practical. So essential.
Do you guys remember the Swami that came to the castle?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Bibi Govinda Swami?
Yes.
So one day we were with him, and he woke up in the morning, he was like, hey boys! He was very happy and excited. We were like, you're in a good mood. And he tells us, yes I am. And he has a big smile from ear to ear. We're like, And then Yogi's like, did you chant all your rounds this morning before you started anything else? He's like, yes I did. And he was so excited and happy. We're like, wow. It energizes you because it's a spiritual practice. So it really gives you energy and happiness and satisfies you.
So going back to the analogy that we started with in the beginning, rehabilitation. So people on rehab, I had a friend who went through rehab, so he needed to take pills, he needed to take some sort of injections, he needed to have some support from other people, so he used to go to support groups and talk to people about the addiction. And I was like, wow, that's a lot like what we're talking about today. We're trying to rehabilitate our consciousness. That's what we do. So the pills that we take every day is compared to our mantra meditation on these beats. The injection is Kirtan. That's like the oomph that we get, from Kirtan. And then a daily dose of reading. So a daily dose of japa, of reading, the injection of Kirtan, and then also sanghas. Support is so necessary. If we didn't have my brother, what's happening? Oh. Honestly, association is so important. If I didn't have my brother, I don't know what would happen to me. Like, he's such a support for me. We do Kirtan together anytime, any place. he like makes sure I do my japa. He makes sure, because he's big bro, you know. So he's like, he makes sure, he's like, Yogi, you need to finish. And then I'm like, okay, but I want to play this video game. But okay.
And it's so important, like, you know, in anything we do in life, you know, even if you have like, you know, when we go to the gym, we always want to go with a friend, fitness buddy, or we go to yoga class and we bring one of our friends. We're like, let's go together. So it's always nice to have a friend that you practice it together. That's why we're stressing the point of sangha, which is association. Like, you know, when you're with someone that both have the same idea, the same goal, and you go towards that goal together, you encourage each other basically. So that's why association is very important.
Is that friendship?
Huh?
Is that friendship?
No, but nice. So we did A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, guys, what's A?
Association.
What's B?
Books.
Yes. What's C?
Chanting.
Chanting.
Eating.
F is? Okay. No, this is
That's a good one. That's good too.
but this one is a little heavy.
Fasting.
No. Let me just tell you. Following the instruction of the spiritual master. It's a little heavy. So in everything that you do in life, you can't wing it. You need a guide. You need a guide. Even in your spiritual life. It's a science. You need a guide.
You need a teacher.
You need a teacher.
Are you referring to the student-guru relationship?
Yes.
You need to have you need someone that guides you.
You need someone
Teaches you.
that you trust and who knows the science, who's expert in the science of Krishna consciousness, that can guide you. And that's F. So when you're ready, you find your spiritual master and you need to follow his instructions.
How do you go about finding your guru?
Excellent question.
That's how you go about it. You ask. You ask Krishna, you pray, I need a spiritual master, send somebody. Send somebody, please send somebody. Did you meet the Swami?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Please sit down. So, Amin is here, and we need to remind him of the ABCs that we're learning. So everybody, A.
Association.
B.
Books.
C.
Chanting.
D.
Dancing.
E.
Eating.
F.
Following the instructions. Spiritual master.
So that's what we're doing, Amin. We're talking about reforming our material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. I know you know a lot.
I'm the disciple.
You see, he knows. Following the instruction of the spiritual master. So that's F. Bro, do you want to say anything about F?
So one good question that a lot of my friends ask me: how do you know who is a guru? How do you know someone is like he's not just some guy that's making up some stuff? How do you know he's legit? How do you know he's bona fide? 1 second. So, do you have a Gita?
Yes.
So I went into the Gita to try and find the answer. I was really like, this is a book have all the answers that is. And in the Gita itself, Krishna talks about, it's chapter 3, and he talks about the qualities of a person that is a guru. So how can you tell? Their characteristics, how they walk, how they talk, how they speak, how they think. And in the Gita, Krishna describes the symptoms of a person that is a guru. And few of those I can mention to you. One of the qualities is they're very equipoise, which means that in happiness and distress, they are not bothered. They are fixed in consciousness. They always think about God, Krishna. And just like the seasons pass, come and go, similarly, they aren't disturbed by those changes. They're always fixed on the permanent. And one more which really stuck out to me is whatever they speak comes straight from Shastra, from scriptures. They don't invent anything. Whatever they speak to you will only be from the books. They won't make up their own. And another one that I really remember that stuck out to me, Krishna says, one who, how can I put it in a simpler way? One who Krishna says in the Gita, He even says, "I'm remembrance and forgetfulness." And then he Krishna, I need your help.
Open the book, open the book.
Let's see. Well, there's one more.
One who is not disturbed by pain and pleasure.
Yeah, one who's not disturbed by pain and pleasure. I got the one I wanted. Just like a turtle, it contracts its limbs inside its shell. Similarly, a great personality, he refrains and controls his senses from the sense objects. So if you see a personality that, he's not disturbed by the sense objects. And what I mean by that is, let's say, there's tasty food there. Maybe there's something that's really super tasty. He can control. He doesn't need to eat that. Or if there's a beautiful lady and he's not affected by that, but his senses are controlled, that's how you can tell that he's an advanced personality. And then you can accept him as a teacher. So one who withdraws his senses from sense objects. So that's very important. Yeah. That was all.
So this is how you can know if someone is a guru or
Yes.
one of them.
Yes.
But to find your spiritual teacher, it's
You get inspired. Krishna will tell you. You bring your heart.
You will get inspired.
Maria, I can share a small secret with you that we learned. In the spiritual world, we actually see through our ears.
see for you.
So you will hear someone speaking one day that's dear to Krishna, and you will know. When you hear him, his words will touch your heart, and you will know that's my spiritual teacher.
And sometimes you'll be singing Kirtan.
Yeah.
And through his Kirtan, you'll say, that is my spiritual. Should I tell you how my father knew? My father told me this story. I asked him, how did you know? And we have the same teacher. Me, my father, my mom, and my brother, we have the same teacher. So my father told me he was literally walking, and our spiritual master just looked into his eyes. And as soon as he looked into his eyes, my father said, that is my spiritual master. That's how he knew. Sorry?
And then he asked him
Yes.
if he was spiritually
Yes.
And
He approached him,
and he said yes.
Once they say that the spiritual master that chooses his disciple.
Yes.
There's always a connection.
There's a connection. You'll
There's
feel
always
it.
a connection.
You will feel it. Hello, Ibrahim. How are you?
How are you guys?
Oh, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, we have to let Ibrahim know what we learned so far. A,
Association.
B,
Books.
C,
Chanting.
D,
Dancing.
E,
Eating.
F.
Following the instructions of a spiritual master.
Following the instructions of
What are these?
Sorry?
What are these ABCs?
Okay, so basically we're trying to reform our material consciousness by making it spiritual consciousness. And the way we do that is simple. We follow A, B, C, D, E, F. But these ones. So A is for association. So you need to associate with like-minded people, people that are trying to practice spiritual consciousness. B, books. You need to associate with the books because books give you knowledge, just like a mother tells her child who her father is. The Vedas let us know who God is, who Krishna is. So B. So C is for chanting. The constant practice of chanting, this transcendental sound vibration, it helps us transcend the material consciousness and associate with spiritual consciousness. D is dancing. So a lot of times when we're trying to have fun, we dance, and in spiritual life we have a lot of fun by dancing, but dancing with putting Krishna in the center. That's dancing. So E is eating remnant or foodstuffs offered to the Lord. So we offer Krishna with love and devotion. Please purify this foodstuff. Please accept it. You eat first, and then I'll eat too, because we believe. I mean, God is a person, and we like to feed Him before we feed ourselves. So that's what eating is. And F is following the instructions of the spiritual master, which is very important because we can't really do anything without a teacher. And spiritual life is a science. And you need some guidance, you need some help, and so spiritual masters help. So those are
Thank you. One more thing for spiritual masters. Some people may say, like, can anyone be a spiritual master? So that's why I mentioned those specific points mentioned in the Gita, that an actual spiritual teacher will have those qualities, those characteristics. And usually in our Bhakti tradition, we see saints. They wear a special dress. They wear the orange clothing. You guys notice? Govinda Swami. That clothing essentially means it's like how can we say it?
The clothing orange?
Yeah.
Renounced order of life?
It's like, how do you explain renounced order of life?
Well, essentially, there are people that have given their lives to Krishna fully. They're dedicated, and they have given their lives to Krishna. So they're not trying to enjoy it in this material world anymore. Their only desire is to satisfy Krishna
And to help people go back.
and to help people go.
So
I
then,
have a question. How come most of the spiritual leaders we hear about are male? Are there many female around?
in fact, there are actually a lot of female also gurus. It's just that I guess we're in a society where I guess there's a more male prevalence to like teacher in terms of spirituality, in a sense where it's like a guide, and over the centuries it's just been one of those ideas that
So there are female.
there are, yeah. There are. They're just not as prevalent. But I mean, look at Mother Teresa, for example. She's a great example. She was a spiritual warrior. She was a leader, and she influenced millions of people in a beautiful way. It was amazing. In our tradition, we have another female called Mirabai. I don't know, maybe you heard about it. And Mirabai would write poems for Krishna, and her poems are famous all across our spiritual culture. We have so many, of course, we have our goddesses that we worship. So many goddesses that give us strength. There's a goddess of music, Saraswati. So yeah, Janava Devi is another, powerful spiritual teacher. So there are many, but we're specifically talking about the renounced order of life, which are like, where, so there are, but they're more undercover. You have to really seek for them. Yeah.
Everyone search.
Yes. You want to add something to that?
Well, something came to my heart. I'm contemplating whether I should share it because it might be a little off topic, but maybe something that will please your heart is that Krishna has a feminine aspect named Radharani, and she is our queen. Like, she is basically the goddess of love. And if you want to know anything about loving Krishna, she's the perfect source. Once you see her, once you experience her compassion and her love, you will know what it is to love. Because she's the embodiment.
So there it is. Definitely. So that's F, following the instructions of the teacher. That's great. Amazing. It's good because we get to refresh, and tell them what we're learning. Go to this.
Welcome. No, there's no sitting in the back today. We want to see your lovely faces. Please, you come here.
There's a place here.
We'll make space for you. Welcome. Don't worry, we'll give you everybody together will give you a briefing on what we learned today. Overview.
Warming my nose.
Hey, could you please quickly tell us your names?
Joanna Fashu.
Joanna, nice to meet you.
Yvonne Sablini.
Yvonne, nice to see you. Susan, nice to see you. So today we're learning about reforming the consciousness from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. You can think of it as rehabilitation. We're trying to rehabilitate our original spiritual consciousness by working on being spiritual. Bhakti Yoga, yes. Bhakti.
So we have a few important points which you can apply in your daily lives to help you with your spiritual practices. And we broke it down into A, B, C, D, E, and F. So maybe all of us together, we can remind each other, what are the ABCs of Bhakti? A.
Association.
B.
Books.
C.
Chanting.
D.
Dancing.
E.
Eating.
F.
Following the instructions of the spiritual master.
Wow. That's clear, right? Is that clear for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So basically, if I give a small overview, in our practice in spiritual life, just like anything, we're social beings, so we like to have friends, we like to have a social circle. So A is for association, which means whatever company you keep, that you become. Birds of the same feather flock together. There's a saying in English. So if we hang out with a certain type of people, we become like them. So in our spiritual practice, we try and spend as much time with other sincere seekers, with good association, so it rubs off on us as well. Then B is for books. We need to read because books are knowledge. And like my brother says, if we want to find out who our Father is, the best way to find out, the quickest way, is to ask our mother. And the books are like our mother, and they tell us about God. C is for chanting, which purifies our consciousness, and that allows us to associate with the divine, face to face. D is for dancing. When we chant, dance comes right after. E is for eating. When you eat, we don't just eat any food stuff, but we eat food stuff that is offered to God, and then we accept it. And F is following the instructions of a teacher. We need a teacher in everything we do in life. So those are the points so far that we've gone over.
Yes. Now next is four regulative principles. So all of these things that we're learning, they are to again develop our spiritual consciousness and to clean it, essentially, to clean our consciousness, to make it spiritual. So four things that we do in our life, and Prem Dan does, and Tulsi do, they're called the four regulative principles. So these are principles that we follow, so that we lead a life in the mode of goodness, and we eventually what is that word?
Transcend.
Yes, we transcend into spiritual consciousness. Those four regulative principles are...
So there's four principles that while practicing our spiritual activities, we follow these four principles that are very important. Now before I tell you these four principles, I'll tell you why we need to follow them. So these four principles really help us keep a clear, fixed consciousness. It's very difficult to practice spiritual life when we don't really follow these four principles. And many of us in our lives, we can even look back. As I tell you these four principles, you can kind of trace back in life and you see that we follow these principles because they help us move towards Krishna. It's harder if we don't follow these principles. So the four principles are... Wait, can you show me one there? The first one is, in order to help ourselves develop truthfulness, we practice
No gambling.
no gambling. So what gambling essentially does is we're cheating other people, we're cheating ourselves. It's not a very, it damages our consciousness.
Except in Diwali. In Diwali, it's okay.
Also in Diwali.
Also in Diwali. No gambling.
No gambling.
Strictly like
We try not to gamble because it helps us to cultivate this quality of truthfulness. We want to be truthful to ourselves and sincere. So that's the first regulative principle that we try and avoid gambling. The second one, austerity. In order to cultivate austerity, which makes us fixed, calm, and focused, we avoid intoxication, which are basically, we try and avoid, taking drugs or any types of, alcohol, drugs, anything that it pollutes our consciousness. When you take alcohol, when you take wine, you're not yourself. You're in a different consciousness, and it's very bad for your spiritual life. It harms it, and that's sad. So we try and avoid drugs. We avoid intoxications. in order to cultivate the quality of mercy and love and compassion, we avoid meat. We avoid eating meat because essentially we're killing other living beings to satisfy ourselves. And I mean, I love animals. I love camels, lions. We went to South Africa recently because we traveled the whole world. The first thing I wanted to do, let's go on safari. Let's go see the beautiful lions in the nature. Let's go see the giraffes, the rhinos. They're also living entities. They're beautiful creatures. They're creatures of God. And why would we want to harm them in order to satisfy ourselves?
And honestly, we don't really need meat. Like, people can survive without meat. You have examples. I haven't eaten meat and I'm alive.
And strong.
And strong.
And healthy.
So essentially, you don't need meat to live. It's essentially a taste. You want to taste meat. That's what my friends tell me, at least who are meat eaters. They say the only reason they really eat meat is because they like the taste. So you're killing another living entity for your personal enjoyment, and that is wrong. That's why we don't.
And it helps us cultivate, again, this quality of mercy, compassion.
Yes.
There was one really strong image on Facebook that I saw the other day. There was a cow, and it was crying. It had real tears. And then right beside it was a dog. And then it's like man's food, which is the cow, and the dog, man's best friend. And it said, what's the difference? It just wrote that. And the cow was crying. And I thought to myself, why is it that as human beings, we're compassionate towards the dog, but not the cow? It's also a beautiful living entity, it's a creature.
And plus it feeds us.
It feeds us, it gives us milk.
Actually, everything that comes out of a cow can be used. Did you know that they are literally God's, what is that called? Natural recycling center. Like whatever organic food you have, if you feed it to a cow, the cow will eat it and it will make milk. The cow will make milk with which you can make cheese, you can make butter, you can make paneer. What's paneer in Arabic? Kafir?
Cheese.
Like cottage, halloum.
Anyway. And then also with the dung of a cow, if you replant that in soil, you will get nutritious soil with which you can grow favorable plants. So God already made recycling centers all over the world. That's your cow. So we're literally killing.
Also urine and
urine.
Cow dung also.
Cow dung.
Could be used as medicine.
Yes.
Because they have
Can I interfere 5 minutes? Last time I was here, we were talking about the war between Krishna and not Krishna, between
Pandavas and the Kauravas.
Yes.
The Pandavas and the Kauravas.
and Krishna told them that it's okay to kill the other guys because they are spirits, they're not going to die anyways. Just doing you're fulfilling your destiny. I don't want to apply this to the cow, but hypothetically speaking, how does this compare to that?
First of all, it's not our duty to kill a cow. I think we do it for our own personal satisfaction to eat. To be very clear and to the point, I don't think any of us need to kill a cow to be happy in life. That was very different because he was in a situation where he had to fight unrighteousness. That's the only reason Krishna asked him to kill. They tried many other ways not to fight, but they had no other choice. And that was a war that was based on righteousness versus unrighteousness. Whereas here, the cow hasn't really done anything to us at all.
Innocent.
It's very innocent, yeah. It hasn't done any wrong. So we as humans, why do we take it upon us that it is our right to kill a cow? That's one of the small little things I could say about that. Yeah, but thank you for that question.
Thank you.
It's important because some people do ask. Yeah.
That's why I was smiling. As soon as I heard the question, I was like, there it is. That's the question everyone asks.
So, yeah, I mean, this Bhagavad Gita was spoken in a very different circumstances. It was a time of crisis. Cows are innocent, animals are innocent, and it helps us in our spiritual practice to, again, develop mercy, compassion. If we want to be compassionate towards everyone, we have to really learn to be compassionate towards everyone, which includes animals. So that's why we avoid eating meat. So can someone please tell me the first 3 that we talked about? The 3 principles?
No gambling.
No gambling.
No intoxication.
No intoxication.
No meat eating.
Wow!
And the last one, we want to cultivate cleanliness. Now this is very important for our consciousness. Cleanliness means we try and avoid illicit activities, which basically essentially means we avoid illicit sex. We avoid this, we avoid it because honestly, that is one of, illegal sex, like outside of marriage. So basically we avoid it because it's one of those things about this mature world that keep us here, which really bind us. If you think about it, at the end of the day, that's like the highest enjoyment in this world. This idea of, physical intimacy, that romance, that love. And that's what binds and runs almost this whole world. If you see these days, all over New York City, these big cosmopolitan cities, it's all about, fashion and clothing in such a way that it's all about sex appeal. It's all about the opposite sex, the opposite gender, looking beautiful, cosmetics, makeup. What is it all for? That's what's running this world. And it's very harmful to our spiritual practice. It's very harmful because it takes away our attention from God when it's about enjoyment. So
selfish enjoyment.
Yeah.
Selfish.
So to cultivate this quality of cleanliness, we avoid illicit sex. We avoid sex outside of marriage. And it helps us in our spiritual practice. It helps us to focus our energies also, and focus it in understanding the real purpose of life. So these 4 principles we follow in order to help our spiritual practices. Along with the A, B, C, D, E, these 4 red-letter principles really, they strengthen our relationship with God. Yeah.
And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that the reason or the purpose of sex is to create wonderful children, like Karuna here. And their parents are teaching her from a very young age spiritual consciousness. Sometimes Karuna tells us the essence of Bhakti Yoga in a simple sentence. She's we're like, what is the essence, Karuna? She says, love Krishna. We're like, how old are you? 5. We're like, wow.
She's so cute. She's sitting there with her hands folded.
And this is the purpose. This is the purpose of sex. So essentially we learn, like my brother was saying, these restrictions, they help us learn amazing qualities like truthfulness, cleanliness,
austerity.
Thank you, and cleanse.
Yeah, cleanliness, truthfulness, austerity, and compassion. Mercy. We learn these 4 qualities that are very essential to help us in our spiritual life. Otherwise, they become very big distractions.
So, now we have a question for you guys. Would you guys like a break?
Before we have a break, does anyone have any questions about what we talked about?
Oh, yeah. Ready.
It's good. Questions is a sign of intelligence.
Yes.
So.
About sincerity. What if you don't believe in the concept of marriage to begin with? So, do you avoid sex your entire life? I mean, is there somewhere in between in which you can still respect sex for what it is? It's not to say have sex with strangers, but with your intimate partner, and not have the label of your husband.
See, excellent question. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he very clearly in bold letters explains that when we do that kind of a thing where it's we're basically not taking responsibility of what family life and sex is. When we have sex without any responsibility, where it's this is not my wife, but still we can have physical intimacy. What happens is it leads to unwanted progeny. It leads to unwanted children. It leads to unwanted, and then, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but nowadays, in New York City, because we spend a lot of time there, there's a whole new gender. Do you guys know this? They're called in the middle somewhere. They don't identify with being males or female.
Transgender,
Yes, there's so many of these. There's so many of these new conceptions that people come up with. You know why? Because they want love. No, but they came out of
it's shell.
Oh no, they came out of this kind of relationships,
which are basically, they don't have a, I don't know how to say it.
They don't have a foundation.
Yeah, there's no foundation, and they're confused. These souls that come in because of this kind of a relationship, it creates confusion, creates chaos in our society. It leads to like unwanted society. It leads to a lot of damaged people. It leads to a lot of, because basically what you're doing when you're uniting with someone is not only are you sharing energies, but you're actually, essentially, it's meant for bringing a soul into this world.
Yes.
And if it's not done in a proper, responsible way, then it creates a lot of, it creates damaged people. It creates damaged personalities that are not proper, what I'm trying to say. So Krishna explains all of this in the book.
And just to dig a bit more, so even in the relationship of a marriage, the purpose of intercourse should purely be to reproduce. It can't be as a.
There's levels. Krishna says in the Gita that of married life, Krishna basically, he essentially says that, the whole point of a marriage is to help each other back to God. And the point is, okay, look, we're enjoying, but where is it leading us? Are we really the enjoyers? It's a temporary enjoyment. Again, we're not this body, we're the soul.
Yeah.
So if we think about it, if we're really each other's well-wishers, we're going to remind each other of God every day and help each other on the path back to God. That's what a marriage is. It's supposed to be, at least. And yeah, that's how we see it. It's very simple, actually. So what I'm trying to say to you is that, of course, those aspects are there.
Yeah.
But essentially, what is the end goal? That's what I would say. And that's what Krishna says in the Gita. And yes, he does say, sex life is to reproduce, to create beautiful offspring that you can teach about God. Further on this,
The point is that we are not the enjoyer. Krishna is the enjoyer, and we serve him, and we try and make sure that he enjoys. That's like the basic.
But what if sex was a form of serving Krishna? And
Yeah, that is
but
to create.
a reproductive aspect, from a purely pleasure aspect, like similar to a pleasure.
But having pleasure is selfish. You're doing it for your own pleasure, right?
Your own senses.
And honestly, like Freddie, to tell you the truth, just like remember that that analogy that we were speaking about, how happiness in this world is temporary.
Yeah.
It's like there's waves of material conditioning crushing you, and you can't breathe, and you're drowning. And in moments, you pop out of the water and you have one breath. That's like the happiness in this material world. And I mean, you tell me, even in that situation or in that life, how much happiness there is, and then look at how much suffering there is because of it. Suffering. I love that. Suffering.
Good reminder.
I guess, thank you guys. So I guess now it's break time. Just have a nice break.
So right now it's 6:09.
Maybe like a
Okay, so
10-minute break.
Okay, so let's have a 10-minute break, guys. Regroup, and then we'll do something cool. We'll do a yogic practice together.
We'll practice a part of the...
Are you guys excited? Say Krishna. Krishna! Yes.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. So grab a drink of water. Talk about Krishna. Do a little jumping jacks. Stretch your legs.
I stretch you.
Wow. So 10 minutes we'll regroup.
Yeah.
Jai. Oh, it's my friend. No, but that is good. Okay, so
You know, on 6 Friday we're not
Okay, now we do the Japati, and then after that we just tell a story. I'll tell a story, and then we can. Arsha will now say and then at 7 we can have a Kirtan. Oh, we should do the interview.
I saw something and I'm trying to
Okay, let's go. So we break it. I like the fun. Good teamwork.
So there, if we have a help and we do use your credit card or you use your then track where your money is going and then it has
I'm always there. I just I know that
like the partnership with the
then you have this more like icon.
and then the background.
This is the personification of word. That's why he's here. You get some credit. That's why he's here. I'm gonna go drink some water, bro.
Maybe stop him now.
لا انا كان عندي مشكله الانسبشن
What do you think of the Oh, we loved it. Yeah, thank you for coming. I hope we I hope you're enjoying it. My mind is perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for
Here, the seminar, people don't come. Why is there Kirtan? Because there's people who are chanting.
No, we had another one. Last night, there was another Christian event. She was there. She was very open, like you. That's nice. Because normally our
misconception of evangelists is they're very strong in their beliefs and they're open. There are even levels of Bhakti yoga.
I hope this is like 2,000.
That's my dream.
Very strict.
Last time I was here, I said in the morning, I was judging. People did, and I was so stressed about it. So happy.
Actually, one thing that we didn't stress in the other discussion was that Bhagavad-gita only increases your faith. So if you're Christian, it enhances your Christianity, your
I gave an example to Philip 2 months ago. Anytime I try to do something physically, all kinds of, and I get tired, eventually, after 2 hours, I start saying myself, step ahead. And then go that step ahead, I start saying, and this really boosts. This is like another hour, and then I get really tired and I say, no, I have to do it. It's amazing.
You know, before I used to do tests, I used to
I don't know if it's the chanting that gives this energy. I don't know, but it's magic.
This mantra is actually, I don't want to freak you out here, but this mantra is not of this world. This mantra comes from God's world. It's His songs. And actually, there's a secret. Maybe we reveal the secret of this mantra. The secret is that it's God Himself. Yes, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's the sound vibration. It's Krishna Himself. Because He's inconceivable. He's not in your body. His powers are limitless. So He comes as His name, so that you can hang out with Him and associate with Him. So when you chant, then you direct contact with Him.
I just put my body and I said to myself, usually before I no traffic chant. Even use it for
Can you see me up to the back? I'll come around. So sick. And then we're like, we can do this. Oh, sorry, somebody there? This is
everywhere,
So happy. It's very
That's what they tell me. I realized that I was done.
That's my it's very good. The one who sees this is good.
Thank you. And I hope it will be some Yes. You like this? Like a recharge.
I was in another mood, so now I'm connected.
The whole point, we help you delight us. Maybe you missed all the time we had. We'll have more. It's like welcome to it, yeah. Write us on Facebook. Meet us
I believe in 3 years, maybe 1 year. There will be clouds in the village. Because I have experienced this. The beginning is an amazing story.
I can't wait to
now we have I believe this will happen more. The beginning is so long. I think it means because I habituated these issues. You make a sentence for stress for people.
Right now we're going to do a hands-on
I told her the whole thing.
Okay, so we should get everybody to do it.
So I was talking this. I was not sure about it. But I'm not so confident, but she was so confident. So she said, just then when she went, she said, please say the mantra. So I saw the mantra. Please put the mantra in like as in. And then I didn't see. So about 1 month later, she told me what that means. She told me what that means.
Hare Krishna.
I would never throw my way out of this. But what's the the medical to stay in the top of this. I thought I did not even imagine this would happen. So I don't know if it is the mantra. This is what happened. I told her, oh, this is a story which we know.
Sorry for interrupting. Everybody please come back. Everybody please. Grab your mats.
Grab your mats. Surya Namaskar.
Grab your seats.
You look like a Vaikuntha master.
Wow.
You look amazing. Only Vaikuntha. You look like a Vaikuntha man. You're shining.
Hare Krishna.
Just do Kirtan for like 5 minutes. Get everything done.
Always good.
Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna do the work, the like getting groups and do skits.
I think it's already like 6:24.
Is it okay if we go over?
Yeah. So we'll do japa first, and then we just have some stories to tell. Okay, some stories to tell.
Tell the history of Mahaprabhu.
We're just gonna tell Mahaprabhu's
Talk about
story.
Nityananda.
Yeah, talk about Nityananda, and then we'll have questions, and then we can do kirtan.
Okay, so Jagat, history. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So now we will be doing a practical side of the workshop, and for this we need everybody to come in a circle. So everybody in the back, please come forward. This is a workshop. You can have a chair.
Bring a chair. You can bring a chair. Come. Otherwise the energy, come. You must come. No, bring the chair. Come. Take a chair and please take a seat in the circle. You can sit on this one.
Yeah. Come to the mic. We will move.
Mohini, that means you too? Mohini, please come in the circle.
No, don't play with it. I'll tell you something.
Anand, come here. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for inviting me.
Just for like 15-20 minutes. Okay, so now I will ask our dearest Priyandan to pass around some leaves.
Yeah.
Should I help you?
I'm okay. I have a bag and it's conveniently written on it. Gifts for all.
And then just
I did forget it. I didn't find it.
with a prayer in the mouth. And then you tell the mood of chanting.
I've said that.
What it is.
And then one thing got jumped off. So scared. I brought it and it got smushed.
Prayer to the
Yes, I use my fingers. When I chant, it's very long, thank you.
I wanted to show
I use my hands to track. I go like that. And then on the left hand, I keep track of how many rounds.
This is the carbon deflection.
Yes.
What is this?
I learned. No, I do it once. I say it only once. No, I prioritize it.
That's for more later on.
Hanuman.
Okay.
Everybody calm the mind. Everybody bring the mind here. Yes. Yes, bring the mind.
Mom.
Everybody bring the mind here. Okay, so many of us are chanting for the first time. So you might notice the head of the bead. So there's this kind of string that lets us know which one is the main bead. Can everybody find that with your right hand? Right hand. So with your left hand you can hold it like this. Normally what we do is we put it in our bead bag, like Bro will show you, so that the beads are in the bag so that they don't touch the floor, because these are sacred beads. So with our right hand what we do is from the head we start on the first bead, so we go to the next one, and we chant this mantra. Everybody knows it, right? So let's try. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very good. And then we go to the next beat and we chant the same mantra. Everybody? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now what you do is, this mantra is meant to focus your mind on the mantra. So you're supposed to hear every syllable that you chant, every name you chant. You're supposed to focus on it and just simply listen. You don't need to do anything else. Just listen to the mantra. So what we will do is, we will all try this exercise. We will go one time all the way around till we reach the head of the beat again. And then we might do it again. But we'll see how you feel. So what do you guys think about that? Is that sounds good?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Say Krishna.
Krishna.
Wow.
So we're all going to try and chant together. And maybe it's best if we close our eyes, because we can really try and focus on hearing. The main point here is we hear. And yeah, so one beat at a time, we're going to chant the mantra all together.
So are we ready? So we start with the first beat, guys. With your right hand, first beat. Okay.
Usually we hold the beads with these two fingers. And we can move it.
Okay, let's start.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktarinda. So when we begin chanting and when we end a round of chanting, we say this mantra. Would you guys like to learn it?
Yes.
And then we will explain in a minute what it means. Jaya Shri Krishna
Jaya Shri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So I'm sure that Vrindan will let you know how that mantra goes. Do you have a sheet or something with the mantra on it? Later we can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel after chanting one round?
Peace.
Excellent. Peace.
Anything else?
Very light, very pleasant,
Pleasant.
focused,
Clarity of mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
vibration,
Lightheaded. Wow.
Tears.
Tears.
Felt love?
joy, yeah, tears of joy.
Is it also an injection? Japa.
Together.
Group.
This is the pills.
Very.
This is
This is
the pills.
the pill, but it's also powerful when you do it together because as you can see, the mind was focused throughout. Sometimes when we do it alone, the mind can wander. So, the mantra that we just said at the end, Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda. These are 5 personalities. 5 personalities that appeared 500 years ago. They came and they appeared on the earth in Bengal. They were transcendental personalities. Would you like to hear about them?
Yes.
So, 500 years, I'm just going to set the scene first. 500 years ago in Bengal, the epitome of success lied in knowledge. Specifically the recitation of verses, of Shastra, and it was an age of intellects. That was the epitome of all power, of all wealth, of fame, was knowledge. And the worst part about this was that there's a caste system. In India, if you do not know, there's a caste system. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The intellect class, the warrior class, were the protectors, the businessmen, and the working class. And the intellect class kept this knowledge to themselves. They believed that this belonged only to them by birthright. And Krishna decided to appear to change that. So Krishna came to this world as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a revolutionary, to give this essence of the Vedas to everybody, regardless of what your caste is, regardless of where you come from. He said it belongs to everybody. It doesn't just belong to the intellect class of people. It doesn't. Now another personality came, and that was Krishna's brother. And his name was Nityananda. Today is his birthday. He came 500 years ago. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya, in order to be recognized in society, he took sannyas. We talked about sannyas. It is the renounced order of life. So he wore orange robes. And he realized that while I'm in this order of life, I cannot bring this message to certain people. For instance, thieves, dacoits, people in bars, people in prostitution homes. He couldn't bring this message to them because it is improper for a person of the renounced order to go to these places. So he said, but I want this message to go to everybody. So then he told his brother, I want you to come. I want you to come and give this mercy to those people who are most fallen, who are most degraded in consciousness. The thieves, the murderers, the rapists. Give it to them even. Purify them even. Because God loves people so much. So that is the embodiment of mercy is Nityananda Prabhu. And he was here 500 years ago. Would you like to hear another story? It's regarding the same personalities. So there were these two brothers, Jagai and Madhai. And they were the worst of human. The worst. They did everything that you consider sinful. They did even worse than that. They were rapists. They were murderers. They just always drunk. They were meat eaters. They exploited people. They beat people up for fun. They got up in the morning thinking, what nasty things can we do today? That's how fallen they were. And Nityananda Prabhu decided, I want to give mercy to them. So, what these revolutionaries used to do, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Advaita and Srivas and Gadadhar, these are the other people in the mantra you chanted. What they used to do was, they used to go out into the city, into the town, and chant this mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and beg people, please you chant, this is good for you, this is the message of love. They used to tell people that we beg you, and they used to get on their knees and beg people, this is God, He's begging you on His knees. This is the brother of God, Nityananda. He's on his knees and he's begging you. Please chant the name. Why? Because he loves. Because he loves so much.
So basically after that, they went to the two brothers, and those two brothers that did everything, like completely nasty, whatever you can think of, they did everything. Lord Nitai goes to them and he asks them, can you please chant Hare Krishna? Jagai looks at Madhai, is this guy serious? They look at each other, is this guy telling me to chant? Get rid of this guy. Madhai takes a pot and he hits it on Nityananda, and this is God's brother. And he hits him with a pot. He's on the floor. He's bleeding. He gets back up. Please, just once, please chant, please. I assure you, you're going to feel happy if you chant. Lord Chaitanya finds out that Madhai hit him with a pot. They report back. Lord Chaitanya is so furious. He comes in the scene. Did you just hit my brother? Did you? And he takes on his form. So he came in the form of a devotee to show us how to be. But at that moment, when he saw his brother bleeding, he came back to his original form. And if you know, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, he has a chakra. If you guys don't know, one of his weapons is he has a chakra, a disc. A disc that he uses to slice off people's heads, the demon people. So at that moment...
Demons, not people.
Oh, there are demonic people.
Yes.
So Lord Chaitanya, he calls his disc, he's supposed to be a devotee, he's supposed to be compassionate, loving, but when he saw his brother bleeding, he took his disc and he was ready to slice off those two brothers' heads. And Nityananda said, no, Lord Chaitanya, please, don't. They're just lost. So he showed compassion and love to Jagai and Madhai. And when Madhai saw that, his heart froze. And he said, I hit him and he's protecting me?
He's showing me so much love.
He's showing me so much love, so much care. That's Nityananda. And then, from that day on, they rejected and renounced doing everything bad. They said, we promise we're going to get our lives straight. We're going to make amends to all the people that we have harmed. And from that day on, they were transformed. So God came down to give this message, but how did he change their hearts? Did he change it with like, I'm going to punish you, you're doing wrong? With love and compassion. So that's Nityananda. That's one of the personalities that came down to share this message.
And can I tell you something else about these two brothers? So, can I?
Yeah.
So I wasn't talking about Nityananda and Chaitanya. I was talking about Jagai and Madai, the bad brothers. Can I tell you something about them? So the Lord of Death, his name is Yamaraj. So Yamaraj has a scribe, has actually many scribes who write down all the sins that people are performing, because people, it's the law of karma. You have to pay for what you have done, and and for these two brothers, Jagai and Madai, they had to work overtime. And they kept writing and kept writing and kept writing and sweating, and they needed extra writers, and they were like, when do I get to go home to my family? And Yamaraj said, keep writing.
Of paper.
Yes.
Then they ran out of paper to write down all the sins they were done.
So that's how demoniac these two personalities were. And then because Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda were so merciful, they decided to take all that sin and just reject it.
Because they chanted the mantra, then they accepted the mantra in their hearts and lives. All their sins, all their activities that they did, Krishna took them all. And what happened? The god of death was like, he fainted. He fainted because he was like, I was so prepared. I was so prepared to punish them. And God, you're so merciful that you took it away like this because they chanted your mantra? But that's the power of the mantra. When we take it into our lives, it transforms everything.
The craziest part about this story is that it is real. It happened. That's the craziest part of this story. I'm serious.
In India, many people know Krishna. He did his pastimes in a village called Vrindavan. And even today, many of us go, and few of us are going. And we go and visit that land. So, these two brothers, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, they appeared in a place in India called Navadvip. And that place is still there, that island where they did these pastimes, where they met these two brothers, Jagai and Madai, where they gave them compassion and love. And so, literally, God came down to give this mantra to each and every one, regardless of caste, creed, color, race, gender. He came to open it up for everyone. Because at that time in India, only the intellectuals, which could read and write, knew that this is the secret. And they didn't want to share it with anybody else. And God's like, I'm going to change that around. I want to give it to everyone. So we're so fortunate that we have access to it.
And then Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, they went all over India. They went to South India, they went to North India, West, East, all over India. And that was 500 years ago. Now, around 50 years ago, a saint from India named A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who's our grand spiritual master, he came to the West and brought this message all the way to America, to Africa, to Europe, to Asia, actually all continents,
all the
Russia,
countries.
and even the Middle East.
So it's like after Lord Chaitanya in India spread it around to all the different castes, all the people. He spread it around all of India. Then later on, if you guys don't know, this is Srila Prabhupada. And his spiritual master told him, why don't you share this Krishna consciousness with people outside of India? And he took it very seriously because he was a very intelligent man. He spoke excellent English. He's the one that's transcribed this, composed this book. And he decided to take it on himself to share it with the young Americans of our society. So, Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 70, he was 70, and he had around $5. He got on a ship called the Jaladuta from Calcutta all the way to Boston, America. His whole life he spent in India. And he had no clue what he was going to see, who he was going to meet, where he was going to stay. He was just so convinced in this message of Krishna, of Chaitanya. He was also a revolutionary. I want to share this gift with people outside of India. So he came at the age of 70 with $5 in his pocket. And 10 years later, so this is how he started. He showed up in Boston. He made his way to New York. And in New York, he sat in Tompkins Square Park under one tree. He took his pair of kartals. This is what he did. He took his pair of kartals. He sat under the tree at age of 70. It's like this Indian guru.
1966.
This Indian guru that's just sitting there in orange robes. He knew no one. He just started going, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
And then the hippies around, they came. Oh.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
This song is cool.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And that's how Bhakti Yoga in the West started.
And it's taped, all of it is taped.
Everything's taped. So that's how it started. So I always ask Yogi, how is it? Because during that time was the time of the hippies. It was all about peace, love, LSD. But that was the time.
Basically, the young people were looking for something else, for something alternative than the regular 9 to 5 and the regular, way of living. They wanted something else.
So that's why they were turning to drugs and all these other things. So I asked Yogi, I'm like, what was it that just made them attracted to this Swami that's sitting under a tree chanting this mantra they never heard before? It was the purity. The minute they got in touch with that mantra, they must have felt something, right? What is that? It's because Krishna is not different to his name. Yes. We're not this body. Again, we're not this body. We're the soul inside. And that soul knows God. So when it hears God's names, it's attracted naturally. It naturally says, I know this. And it wants to chant. So that's what happened. And from there, Srila Prabhupada, he started traveling around the entire world for 10 years. And today, you guys may not know, but it's an international society, the Bhakti community. There's over 500 temples around the entire world. In every town and city you go, you're going to find Bhakti yogis. Better known nowadays as Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishnas. And he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is short for ISKCON. He established the ISKCON Society, which basically what we're doing here, reforming our consciousness. We're making our consciousness Krishna consciousness. So that's the society Srila Prabhupada made. And now it's so international, I can't even begin to tell you. Do you guys know the most famous street in New York City? 5th Avenue. Did you guys know that the government of America, they block the entire road of 5th Avenue just so that the Hare Krishnas, the Bhakti yogis, can do their chanting on that street. They have a huge cart they build, and they put Krishna's deity form there, and then they walk with that huge cart on 5th Avenue. singing and chanting like Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, singing with this drum, singing with this kartals. There's thousands of people on 5th Avenue. So that's how big this Bhakti community has become now. It's humongous. If you Google ISKCON, Hare Krishnas, on YouTube, you will see there's thousands of devotees in Russia, in Ukraine. We just came from a festival last year. We went to Ukraine. We had 8,000 people singing this mantra all together. And everyone's like, we found what we were looking for, that emptiness in our lives. It's this Hare Krishna, it's Krishna in our life. So, yeah, Lord Chaitanya came 500 years ago. God came himself to show how we can practice bhakti. Then Srila Prabhupada came and took that message from India out into America. And now it's all over Europe. Now it's in Beirut with all of you. We have Prem down here. He's trying to share this message. It's wonderful that he's dedicating his life to share this message of love. Why would a normal person with a happy life decide to just, sacrifice his time and energy just to share this mantra? It's because it has given him such a deep meaning in his life. It has given him satisfaction and happiness and purpose. That's why he's here organizing this to share it with all of you. He actually cares. I know it's hard in this world to think somebody cares about us, but he really cares, and that's why he's here. That's why we're here, to share this message of love. Life is so short, and it goes by like this. All of you guys know better than us. Life passes by in a blink. And at the end of the day, what do we have left? All the money we accumulate, all the power we accumulate, all the fame, none of it lasts. Everything disappears. The only thing that can stay is love for God, our love for each other, our care for each other. So that's a little bit of the history of where Kirtan came from. That's why when we chant, we offer our respects to these 5 personalities. Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya,
Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Shrivas, Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So before we chant this Hare Krishna mantra, we pay our respects to those 5 personalities that came 500 years ago. And they opened up this storehouse of love for God. Yeah.
I only have 4. Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu, and Nityananda.
No. So Nityananda, so Prabhu means Lord. Lord Nityananda. Prabhu Nityananda is 1.
So that's 1. Krishna is 1, Chaitanya is 2.
No. His full name was Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Yeah. Then Nityananda is 2.
That's 2.
Shri Advaita is 3.
Okay.
And Gadadhar is 4. And Shrivas is 5.
Shrivas Adi?
And Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda means, and the rest of the personalities. So everyone else.
All the devotees.
All the devotees. Yeah.
Pay respects.
Those are all names, or it means something?
Those are names. Those are personalities.
Names, all these.
Those are names. Yeah.
I have Nityananda, that was the other colony.
Oh, you mean a colony?
A colony named after Nityananda.
Yeah. And then we're so grateful to our Srila Prabhupada that he brought it for all of us. Otherwise, I don't think...
Before 500 years, there was another sect or something, and this has come up after that?
So like Yogi was saying, it was all about knowledge. It was all about shastras. In India, everyone's always been God conscious. Just the higher class knew certain practices, and they wouldn't share it with the other classes. So Lord Chaitanya came to first of all give it to everybody openly. That's why he came down. And then it was in India. So then, the teachers and the practitioners, they decided, why don't we share this with the whole world? And today, we can see their sacrifices paid off.
No, I'm talking about before this.
Before Lord Chaitanya? So before it was a different practice. There are different practices to attain the Supreme. So before that was more about
sacrifices.
Was there a kind of a sect, like there is the Protestants, the Orthodox in Christianity I'm talking about? So is there different sects in Hinduism?
Like the paramparas, maybe?
There are many. There's many different paramparas. Yeah, there's 4 different paramparas, and in India, each parampara has their own way. Parampara is like lineage, yeah, and each lineage has their own process. But essentially, what Lord Chaitanya taught us is that the point of any lineage or any approach to God is to love Him. So what's the easiest way to love God than to sing about Him and glorify Him? That's why we sing about Him, we chant about Him, we talk about Him. So I think it's the simplest process to approach God. And we're lucky that all we have to do is sing God's names. How easy is that? There was a time in the past, 5,000 years ago, where the only way you could get to God was sacrifices, fire sacrifices. Then even before 5,000 years ago, the only way to attain God was through meditation. You had to meditate for thousands of years in the forest.
This is what I'm talking about, because you're only talking about 500 years. So I know that history goes beyond 5,000.
Way beyond, yeah.
So beyond, so much beyond.
So why are you talking 500?
Because it's not relevant.
No, also, it's not important because
it's not relevant.
We don't have to do meditation, or we don't have to do fire sacrifices now.
Meditation, no.
We don't have to meditate on the Supreme. We can just chant, and that is the meditation. By meditation, we mean closing our eyes and being silent and focusing on the internal supersoul. That's what we consider as meditation. This is a different type of meditation. This is chanting. This is it's a more practical meditation. Meditation in those times were like you had to do austerity. That's what we're referring to when we say meditation. Austerity. Meditation. Some yogis would stand on one leg like this for years and years. I don't think in today's time anyone can do that practically.
For years. And cold water.
Cold water or in the, there's a few yogis even today in the Himalayas, but they're rare. So,
Are those the samanas? And they think
you know, there's many groups, some worship Lord Shiva and they worship and they do meditation, and when we say meditation, we mean like actual meditation, like austerities, you know?
Tapasya.
Yeah, so...
You mean don't be meditation like 20 minutes a day, you mean like meditation.
Oh, they do it for years.
Yeah, that's what we mean by meditation.
Many schools.
They don't die?
Many schools.
No, they don't die. Even today, there's yogis in the Himalayas, you can visit them. Some of them are 200 years old. And they just live on air. Prana. That's all they live on. Because they don't break the balance of their life. If the minute you take one grain or one sip of water, your entire, because they know how to take care of their body in such a way that they're balanced just with air. But you see, all these things, they take us so far away from what's the goal?
The essence.
The essence is love for God. If we can get love for God just by chanting this mantra, would we really want to go and spend thousands of years mastering how to live on air? So that's why we don't talk about it.
There is somebody, isn't it, Susan? One of the in the mountains. There's a man who is like that.
Yeah.
There are many.
You know about
many yogis.
Here in Lebanon.
I don't know about Lebanon. I was talking about Himalayas.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of him. He's not Lebanese actually. He's from South America.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Can I tell you something? With this, although we don't do it, with this mantra you can get all those powers, get all those yogic practice just by chanting this mantra. That's how powerful it is.
Because you're associating with God.
But we don't ask for that because it's not the highest goal. Why would you want something that's not the highest? The highest achievement ever is love, honestly.
So our friend Premdan is going to tell us the story of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva, a small 5-year-old boy that wanted power, to attain all these powers, that wanted a big kingdom. And he set out to find God. So Premdan is going to tell us the short story of Dhruva, the boy.
Maharaj. So this is a story taken, thank you. This is a story taken from a book called the Srimad Bhagavatam. And So there was a king who had a very big kingdom, and he had a son. His name was Juba, and he had 2 wives. So Juba, he wanted to sit on the lap of his father. He was the son of one of the wives. I forget the names. And then he went to sit, and then his stepmother, she chastised him. She said, "You cannot sit on the lap of your father. You are not worthy." She started just basically criticizing him and telling him that he was not worthy of staying on the lap of his father. That 5-year-old child, you hear that, it really... So 5-year-old child, you hear that, it really hurts you. It really gets to you. It really hurts your heart. So he went and started. He was crying. So he went to his mother and he said, "Mother, this is what happened. What do I do?" And his mother said, "You turn to God." "Where do I find God?" She said, "Go and meditate in the forest, and you will find Him." So then he's. I'm just kind of shortening the story. So he goes to the forest, and on his way there, he meets a great sage. The sage's name is Narada Muni. Narada Muni, he just appeared for a moment. He wanted to test his determination, and he said, "You're just a 5-year-old boy. Why worry about this? Why go to the forest and meditate? Just go back. There's no need for you to do all these austerities. Don't worry about it." But Juba, 5-year-old, he was really determined. He was really determined. So then he goes to the forest and he starts meditating. So he takes, what do you call that posture? When you stand, tree. He stands on one leg, and then for some time he was eating a little bit while standing in that posture. And then later on, he reduced his consumption from food to water, and then from water to air, and at some point he even started breathing. He was just living on something called prana. And his austerity was so strong, his rage was so strong. He actually wanted a kingdom bigger than his father's. He went to the forest and he had a material desire, and his mother told him, "You have any desire, just approach God." Because the Lord is so pure that in any way you approach Him, any way you, for any desire, for any intention you approach Him, it will be purified, no matter what. His mother knew that. So he goes to the forest. So then, after so much, in Sanskrit called tapasya, so much sacrifice, so much austerity, so much sense control, the Lord finally appeared. Krishna, in his form as Vishnu, finally appeared. And when Dhruva saw the Lord, his heart melted. And he told him, "I came here seeking broken glass, but I have found a diamond." And then the Lord said, "Please tell me, what do you want?" He said, "I don't want anything, my Lord. I'm just so happy to be just in your presence." And he said, No, please. And the Lord, on top of giving him the highest, which is love for God, then he also gave him a planet that is one of the most opulent planets in the universe. It's known as Dhruva Loka. And in the Bhagavatam it explains that if you look up in the sky, it is actually the pole star. That's the pole star. That's Dhruva Loka.
That's his planet.
That's his planet.
You can see it from anywhere.
Yeah, you can see it from anywhere. So this is a very instructive story, because a lot of people that I encountered, they tell me, first I want to become pure, then I want to approach God. And Dhruva, by his example, he was showing us that there's no impediment to approaching God. You can approach God with whatever desire you have. Because He is all pure, just coming in touch with, in contact with Him. Like the example is, if you put a piece of metal in fire, then what happens? The piece of metal, with time, takes on the qualities of fire. It becomes fire itself. So the Lord is so pure that just by coming in touch with Him, coming in contact with Him, it purifies us also. We become pure. So that's the story of Dhruva Maharaj. It's available. It's part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's online. Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
As you can see, Premdan beautifully told that story. So it relates back to the different, ways of approaching God. And back to what Yogi said, Lord Chaitanya gave us God through simply chanting His holy names.
So guess what we're going to do next?
Kirtan.
C. No? Chanting?
Chanting and dancing. Is everybody ready? Like normally we would have questions and answers, but I can't wait. We'll have questions and answers later, okay? So we'll do a kirtan. After kirtan, we'll just have prasadam. Okay. Thank you so much, Anand. Thank you, Vrindavan. See you later. So we'll have kirtan, and then we'll all eat a lovely dinner together, and then we can talk then. Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Just turn on the camera. Just give me a second.
Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. So, what I've noticed being in Lebanon is sometimes we have melodies that can be quite crazy, and then people don't know what to do. They freak out, and then they become very shy. They say, "I'm not going to sing." So our request is, don't be shy. So that's the motto. Don't be shy. Just chant. And if you don't know it, just listen when I sing, or just look at your neighbor and say, Ibrahim, that's how we chant. Okay, I got you. Is that okay? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna. Join us. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Amin 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 Oh Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna